Welcome to my masterclass on how to draw in an art style that I created. This art style is called Hyper Sugarpop. Now, Hyper Sugarpop is an art style that I created, which is based off of some of my favorite artists, if not inspired. Okay, so before we actually get into the actual art style, we need to understand the basic elements of this art style and kind of just implant this into your art style. So what I would recommend is just to kind of look at some of the images I will be sharing on screen. So I will be sharing some images inspired that are specifically by some of my favorite artists on Twitter. And also I will be providing my own art in this video to kind of use as a reference. And I will also be using art from my favorite art YouTubers and just artists on the internet as a reference, and basically how this art style is combined into one. What I start out with is a simple little thing here. Okay, I start out with a simple shape. I do a simple little cylinder. Once I do that, I draw the lash line going up to back and here. I draw a little lash line. It doesn't look the best, but that's fine. It doesn't have to look the best either. So I draw the lash line however I want it to look out first. I draw it like this. Then when I build up the shape, for example, like let me build up the shape. So I'm building up my shape and the way it needs to look. So I'm building up the shape, kind of. As I'm building the shape up, I draw the shape like this. Just a pretty rounded out, like that. The lash line does have to be curved and look like this. Basically, this is just a demonstration, and you want to follow the guidelines of your thing using what you've done here. So you want to use the guidelines of your thing as a sort of just like a kind of, you want to draw your pupil here, pupil. You can add some little highlights if you want. Doesn't need to be a choice, kind of like an aesthetic thing. Or whatever, Just trying to control the lines here. You would want something like this, I guess. And on paper, basically, you would take a blank sheet of paper or whatever sheet of paper you're not using currently. So basically, you want to take your pen and you want to do this, draw a little circle. Then you do this. Here, you make up a little curve, which is going to be the lash line here. So as you are doing that, you want to keep going and going as you keep making it bigger and more like flusterous, I guess, more ingrained, I guess. It doesn't have to be the best looking lash line you've ever seen. Just create a slight curve, kind of like this. And once you make a slight curve like here and follow the guideline and make a pupil and do your stuff, it should look like this. Or if you're trying to do something simple and you're a beginner, it would look like this. So the rest of the character, you would want to follow the bottom right here where the little squiggly is. It's referred to as a squiggly. Just want to kind of go from bottom to this way. So you want to continue doing this specific pattern, going this way. Going kind of back to front, then draw some eyelashes for fun, I guess. Then you add some coloring. Yeah, and to do some little like shadowing, you don't want to like do aggressive movements. You want to be slow, steady, and gentle. I call it swaying. Just like imagine yourself on a boat, swaying as you're trying to control the draft, trying to control the drift. As you're moving the boat, moving the gears, trying to move around, trying to do things like that, trying to just get your crazy on. Okay, there. Here is the finished product. And if you want to add some creases underneath the eye, you can just do this and that. Creases and eyebrow. There, eyebrow. Oh yeah, you can also draw an eyebrow on this eye, because it makes it look better. Just like a little eyebrow, I guess. And once you have like your eyebrow or whatever, it looks fine. You can do a bigger one like I did, just follow the same method, but you can experiment with different shapes. Like for this one, I made it like a bit more triangular, but I'm actually gonna try and go up in there and fix it a bit. Okay, that looks much better. Just experiment with different shapes. Just experiment with different shapes and try to come up with a shape that you feel more comfortable with. Okay, for part 2, this is how to draw the heads. So my tutorial for drawing the heads is just to draw the heads in a normal way. Just draw the heads of the characters the way you know how to. Basically what I mean by that is basically kind of just follow this guide. So first you want to draw a circle, then add some lines at the bottom, then draw the chin. And if you don't want to do that, then you can just draw a circle like this and just repeat it without the lines and drawing just a normal ordinary circle. The more you get better at it, the more you will learn about it. So for other things that you would want to do is look at references. So for references, look at these. Take all of these images as a reference and just use them. just use them as something to kind of trace over these images. I'm not saying steal them. It's called study tracing or study copy. Study copying is where you copy from your favorite artist or different artists to build your own art style, or just to build up an art style that you're trying to learn and to help you get better at drawing. So it's not technically stealing art. I know, stealing art is horrible in the art community, and it's not something that I would encourage. So I encourage you to study copy in order to get better at drawing in this art style I'm teaching you, or in any art style in particular. So, in general, please use study copying with the hands of care. Do not take the picture if you are planning to use it for your own sake. Do not upload the picture without the artist's permission. Do not just use the character without the artist's permission, or if you're just saying it's inspired, for example, then you're fine. Just don't take the complete idea, so the art community will leave you alone. The next step is to try to keep your focus up. Try to find something online, like a art style or a music genre that can inspire you into doing more things with this art style. So for the Sugarpop art style, what you need to do is you have to learn to draw the eyes directly, like curvy. You have to learn to draw them curvy and triangular, or almost square shape like. You have to remember to use a very kind of clean art style. You cannot use a simple art technique, as the simple technique would not do anything. You can use a simple technique, but the harder technique would kind of help improve you with the art style a bit more. So you have to figure out how to draw the eyes in a very square-like shape while balancing out the curviness of the bottom eye. And also give it that curve while you're still trying to go for that kind of square-like texture. So if you're really trying to balance out the square-like texture, you have to go with a lot more than just one image. In particular, you have to focus on one image. So for example, print out an image that looks similar to the art style we're talking about and go deeper inside of it and try to take references and examples from that image, and keep that image beside you while it is printed out, and you get your blank piece of paper and you start writing on it and improving it more. Not only will this help you adapt to my art style, but it will also help you figure out your own art style, just like I did. And the Sugarpop art style will be something that is very interesting. And the Sugarpop art style took a long time for me to perfect. So to perfect it is you have to keep working. You have to keep tracing and keep going. You can't stop tracing or anything. What I mean by that is just trace over the images that you created and look at the difference between your sketch and what you have done after you traced over it. So after you have done that, if you don't have a clean cut outline, then you're fine. You don't need to have a perfect outline to completely do it. The only thing I would be concerned about is if the eyes are too flat. The eyes need to be round and curvy. while also having that kind of, dill look to them. And when I mean dill look, I mean the eyes can be looking quite lifeless, but also have a very extreme pop of color into them. Basically, it's basically a mix of emo and hyperpop mixed into one. So the only way that you can do this is just to keep going. Just look at more references, and the more time and references you look at will be more things. So for example, I would recommend going on Pinterest and using art pictures of like characters you can trace.